Hello, it's Ray Verillo. Today I'll be telling you how to install a new CD/DVD drive, whether it be renewing one that's stopped working or installing a new one. You can use the term CD drive or optical drive, they're both exactly the same. Before we start, just a few do's and don'ts. Make sure you leave yourself plenty of room to work. Don't rush through installing it. There is nothing worse than having installed a new CD drive, turning your computer on and finding you've forgotten to fit a cable or you've not tightened the screws. Before we get down to actually taking the computer apart, just a very quick run through on some of the tools that will be required. Firstly, a cross-headed or Phillips screwdriver, a normal flat-bladed screwdriver, a small flat-bladed screwdriver for removing a front panel, which I shall show very shortly, a tube just to keep screws in, save them getting lost or scrabbling around on the floor, and most importantly, an anti-static wrist strap. Whilst talking about the tools we'll be using, don't be tempted to use your normal sort of screwdrivers you would do for DIY projects around the home, as they may well be magnetised, which can cause damage to computers. And as a computer service kit comprising of screwdrivers and various other items are quite cheap to buy from any decent computer store, it's well worthwhile investing in them. Right, we're now ready to start installing this CD drive. First thing to do is to turn off and unplug your computer from the wall socket and remove the plug from the wall. If you have an on and off switch on the back of your computer, make sure it is in the 0 position, which means it is off. Having isolated the power to the computer, we can now safely start taking some of these rear cables off. Firstly, we start with the power cable, which is just a gentle pull out. If you have a PS2 keyboard and mouse, you would remove them from these two sockets. As I have USB ports, I just remove those two, which is the keyboard and mouse. We next remove the video graphics adapter card. These should only be thumb tight. If they are tighter, you can very carefully use the cross-headed screwdriver just to loosen them off, and then just gently pull it towards you to release it. You'll now notice I'm wearing the anti-static wrist strap, as I now intend to start removing the side panels to allow us access to inside the computer. Before we start, just touch the case to ensure that any static electricity on me or on my clothing is thoroughly discharged. Then, taking the cross-headed screwdriver, we very carefully undo these rear screws. Having removed the 4 screws, we now gently pull the side panels towards us. They should come off fairly easily. Lift them off and store them somewhere safely out of the way. As this computer already has a CD drive in it, which I intend to replace, we'll start by removing the Molex plug very carefully from the back, which is just a gentle pull. This particular one has an old IDE lead, so again, very carefully pulling it out gently to release it from the back of the CD. we can now commence taking the 4 screws out that hold the CD in. One here and 2 on the corresponding side. Having removed all 4 screws, we can now safely remove the CD player. This is done by very carefully putting your hand in the back of the computer and gently pushing the CD player forward, using your other hand to support it, and then pulling it gently towards you. It may be a little bit stiff, but it comes out, and just place it to one side. We're now ready to install our new optical drive. Having removed the optical drive from its packaging, we have the optical drive in a nice plastic bag, an installation CD, and the 4 mounting screws. L-shaped. All you need to do at this time is just make a note of which way the L actually points. As you can see, this one comes towards my left and goes down. The data transfer cable goes to my right and down. If you want to, you could make a photocopy or a little drawing just for your own information. Having removed the optical drive from its protective plastic bag, just to point out the 2 connectors at the back that concern us. The first one, the long one, is the actual SATA power cable connector. The one next to it is the SATA data transfer cable connector. As you can see, they are both L-shaped. The power one comes towards me, or towards my left, and drops down. The transfer cable goes to my right and drops down, which means it is easy to connect to your computer, as the cables will only fit one way round. Installing the new optical drive is almost the reverse of removing the old one. Just make sure you put it in the right way round, which will be with the writing facing upwards. Gently slide it in, again using your rear hand inside the computer to gently slide and guide it. Once you've got it fairly flush with the front, just hold it. Once you've installed the optical drive, you will see that the screw holes actually line up with adjusters. If you very carefully insert a screw into the back, just do it up enough to hold it, but still to allow movement, so that you can carry out final adjustments to ensure you get a nice flush fit. Then insert a screw round on the opposite side to ensure that it is firmly held. Once you're satisfied that it is a nice flush fit, you can then start putting the rest of the screws in and tightening them up. As the power supply unit that I have installed on this computer does not have any SATA connectors, I've used a Molex to SATA cable, which I connect to the Molex lead. I then check the orientation. As you can see, it goes to my left and down, and I very firmly but gently push it up home to ensure that makes a good connection. I'll now connect the SATA data transfer cable to the rear of the optical drive, again checking the orientation to ensure it goes in the right way round. Again, just a gentle push and it clicks in. On my computer, on this motherboard, the SATA drives are at the bottom. I will again connect that. And that completes the installation of the optical drive. Finally, before we start reassembling the computer, just have a general look inside to make sure that the cables that you've installed are not catching on any fans or catching anywhere inside the computer, and they are, like this, free of any obstructions. As you can now see, I've reconnected everything to the back of the computer: power lead, mouse, keyboard, monitor. All needs to be done now is for the computer to be plugged in, turned on, and the installation CD for your new optical drive to be installed. I hope you've enjoyed watching this video, and I hope it's made it nice and easy for you to have a go at doing this yourself. Thank you.